very large termite mound that these elephants are standing behind. You'll see it shortly. Hang on, there's a nice view from this angle. Just going to turn off here. There we go. Ah, that's lovely. Enjoying the shade a little bit there. Hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. This will start to the weekend. It's a really nice Saturday, I suppose. For us, every day is just about the same though, but hopefully the rest of you are enjoying a relaxing weekend. And what a lovely start this afternoon. The warthogs are now elephants. So I wonder if our theme for this afternoon is grey. The grey warthog's a grey elephant. We'll see what else we can find that's grey. Now that was interesting. I don't know if you saw. You see how they all paused and stood completely they stopped and just stood still. And the reason for that is often these elephants, the way they'll communicate if they hear something or smell something, it's amazing. The whole herd will just stop and they go completely still. They freeze, they listen, and they just make sure there's no threat or danger around, and then they carry on feeding. But it's incredible to see how they communicate somehow. I'm not exactly sure how, but the entire herd will freeze at the same time, and they stand dead still, make sure there's no danger, and then issue, not quite an issue. It just sounds like the YouTube channel is down for a second. We should get it up again soon, but Periscope and Ustream apparently is all still working. Now, I mentioned those dry leaves. Look at that. And listen to the leaves rustling with that elephant walking through there. You can hear the dry branches cracking. You see, as that elephant touched that tree, all the leaves started falling off, the dry leaves. Alright, I'm going to sit with these elephants a little bit longer while they are standing here, and we've got them. But let's head over to Taylor, who's in the tent this afternoon, and she's dying to say good afternoon to you. Oh dear, I think we might be having some tent issues there for a second, but that's alright. Luckily we're still sitting with the elephant. It sounds like we didn't have any audio for Taylor, but I'm sure they'll get it fixed pretty soon. Or it could potentially become the Byron show this afternoon. A long 3-hour drive with me. I'm sorry everyone. So nice of these elephants to stand for us and just feed. They seem very, very calm, very relaxed. They also even seem like they're just feeding very slowly. Almost as if they are a little lethargic. Wow, look at this one using its foot to try to break the branch. You see that? Now elephants often do that. They'll use their feet to either kick a branch loose or a root, or as you can see, use it to help break. break branches. They also use their tusks. We know how they bend branches over their tusks and help or try to break them. Usually they do. Those tusks are quite strong. Again, see how that elephant is twisting that branch in its mouth, stripping the bark off, and you'll see once it does drop it, you'll see that bark will be completely stripped off. Now look at that. Isn't that amazing? Stacy, good afternoon to you. You asked at what age do the elephant tusks start to form or develop? Quite an early age, Stacy. Now it does vary from time to time. Sometimes you get elephants that develop a little bit later, but from about a year and a half, probably 2 years, you might start seeing these little tusks protruding. So it's quite an early age. But like I say, some elephant will develop tusks a little bit sooner than others. And we know occasionally some elephants also don't have tusks at all. Their tusks just don't grow out. Now the theory is that when ivory poaching was a massive issue, the theory was that the elephants, I don't know if it's true, but that the elephants then stopped growing big tusks, but also because all the large tuskers were poached and killed, unfortunately, years and years ago. So that then they started to develop smaller tusks, but also some elephants just didn't grow tusks out at all. I don't know how true that is, if it was because of poaching that caused it, or if it was just genetic. But Stacey, yeah, I would say probably around 2 years on average you'd start seeing little tusks protruding, maybe a bit later, 3 or 4 years. It's actually quite difficult to say with some of those questions because like I said, it can vary with the elephant. Now they're starting to move through the thicket away from us now, so I think we'll do the same. Why don't we carry on with our plan of going to check the water holes, and we'll see what else we can find. Maybe we bump into these elephants a little bit later again near a water hole or going to water. Just saw some little civet tracks along the road from last night. Now, civet is a nocturnal animal, and they do move around quite a lot during the night or during the evening. Very round little tracks. If I do see a clear one, I'll try to show it to you. Just having a look. But they're quite shy. We don't see them very often, but we see their tracks regularly. So there's definitely a lot of civet that move around at night, but we just don't see them. I think perhaps they come out once we have finished our drive and we are, because we get back a little bit earlier. So maybe that's why. I think let's actually head towards Treehouse Dam, one of those other little dams that we have around here. Let's head there first and see if we can't find something down there. Now, the whole time I'm driving, I am checking the road for tracks of any predators that might have moved around last night. As I said, we weren't out this morning, so I don't know if there were any lions or leopards found by the other guides in the area. But once they get out on their afternoon safari, I will get in touch with them on the radio and find out if there were any updates from this morning. Oh, it's a lovely warm afternoon. Very, very nice warm afternoon. Much warmer than it was yesterday. Yesterday afternoon was actually a bit chilly. Tristan and I were out on drive, and it definitely was much cooler than it is now. Tristan and Ali are on leave at the moment, so just Taylor now for the next few days. Saw an interesting bird fly. Alright, well, it sounds like Taylor has fought off the gremlins. I think she's got some audio. Let's go and say hi to her.
Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to Safari Live. In case you have just joined us, it is a live and interactive safari, so you can ask us questions by hashtagging Safari Live. Now, if you're wondering who I am, my name is Taylor. You may have seen me talking earlier with no audio, as Byron said, but we seem to have that back and sorted again, and we've got somebody special on camera today. Don't think you've met our new editor just yet. Sent you on camera at one point. I might grab it from her and point it in her direction so you can actually see who will put a face to the name, I suppose. But it's really wonderful. It is one of the most beautiful days we've had this week in the Sabi Wildtuin out here in South Africa. There is not a breath of wind. It is warm. I can only expect that we're going to get lots of cool sightings today, hopefully with all of the herbivores. That'll be nice. You know, we're still waiting for the buffalo to come back. Byron's had a great start with, like he said, he's having a great drive with the warthogs and then the elephants. What other grey things are we going to find today? I'm sure he'd like to find some things with spots, or perhaps even with a mane and some tan colours maybe. Now, I know we were having a couple of gremlin issues on the YouTube stream earlier, but that is all up and running now, so you can continue watching on YouTube as well, and I'm sure you're very, very, very happy about that. So, obviously, we haven't been in the tent for, I don't know, ages, and it's a really magical spot here. For those of you who are newer viewers, have only just started watching in the last couple of weeks, perhaps the last few months, this is the tent. It is great. There are so many different things here. We've got a giraffe skull. How great is that? Don't you think that's so cool? I get to watch myself in the monitors. Really nice. Many, many different monitors over here. At the stingless bees a little bit later. You'll be quite excited to see how long the waxy sort of entrance has gotten. It's really quite beautiful, but you know what it's like. That microscope is very difficult to use, and I haven't used it for quite some time. So it will take me some getting used to, but we'll have a look at it a little bit later. I feel like I've forgotten all these things that are in here. We're also going to be watching some clips of sightings that we've seen over the past few weeks, and we'll have some discussions about them too. Anyways, we're going to send you back across to Byron now, who has found a lilac-breasted roller, and I wonder if you're going to see a courtship display.
Oh, now we have. It's just flown down, and I think it's caught a little insect there. I'm just trying to have a look. Now, I suppose no afternoon safari is complete without a lilac-breasted roller. Look at those colours. Beautiful, beautiful bird. I didn't see what it caught. If it caught anything. Oh, Craig. Sorry, I've spotted another bird just off to our right on the branch. There's a woodpecker. That dry little branch. just sticking off to the side there. Yes, go to the right, right. There you see moving. There we go. Well done. There we go. So what is that? That looks like a. Just trying to see the lights. A bit difficult. A little cardinal, perhaps. Oh, looks like a bearded woodpecker. Hold on, let me show you the difference quickly. Looks like it's possibly a bearded woodpecker. Did it fly off? There you go. Just moved there, but lovely. Let me just show you. Sure. It was a little bearded woodpecker. So you can see that. Sorry. You can see that very bright red on the head that we saw, and then you could probably see the markings under the throat and close to the eye there, those dark markings. Those are dead giveaways of the bearded woodpecker. I'll just show you quickly the cardinal woodpecker. Cardinal woodpecker is quite small too. Oh, I wonder, was that not a cardinal maybe? Like I said, it's a bit difficult to see. Maybe we'll check the screenshots a little bit later. Let's see if it's still around. I'll just double check for you. I think Craig still sees it. At the back there. There's jumping around. Okay, well spotted, Craig. Let's see if we can try and get another view of it. That's a little southern black tit. Yeah, that's a southern black tit that's jumping around there. Let's see. Just having a quick look here, and yeah, I think you know what? I think it was a cardinal woodpecker. Everyone, I do apologize. Just having a look now. It's a much smaller little woodpecker, but have a look. Also, that bright red on the head, and there you can see that little black marking that we saw down the throat, but not so much black behind the eye. But we could see that bit of streaking down the front of the cardinal woodpecker. So I think it was a cardinal woodpecker. If you do have screenshots, you can send it to us on Twitter, and we'll just double check and make sure. But I think it was a cardinal woodpecker. Sometimes it's funny, but for us, while we're on the vehicle, Mad Candy, you say you added that little bird to your list, the cardinal woodpecker. But like I say, sometimes it's difficult for us with the light in that to see the color of the birds, and you often get a much better view on the camera. So we try and also look on the screen, but it's not always easy. I'm not making excuses, everyone, but hey Craig, no, but I do think it was a cardinal woodpecker. It's a bit smaller than the bearded woodpecker, but they've both got these little markings down the throat, except the bearded, it's more, or it's a lot clearer, and then also a black marking behind the eye. But that little cardinal's got a bit of streaking, but a smaller woodpecker compared to a bearded woodpecker. But also that red on the head. It's always nice to drive and do a bit of birding while you are out on safari. Oh, and there's a waterbuck. There we go, another grey animal for us. Looks like a youngish male. Those horns will still get a bit larger. I think we did well with going with the grey theme this afternoon. See, those horns, as I said, will still get much larger. You see that those white markings on the rump, that little ring around the rump. Now the theory behind that is that it is a way for the water buck to follow one another away from danger, or to see one another through the bush. If they are running away from anything, then they can follow the same line and try to get away from danger. It's a theory with these, and I say it's a theory because I don't know if it's 100% been proven, but generally most of the antelope, they've all got white markings of sorts on the rump, either a white flash under the tail, very white hair under the tail, or white markings on the rump, and that they would use. One example, another grey antelope, I suppose, is the kudu, and when they run away, they lift their tails up and they flash that white. So that the theory is that also then allows them to see it very clearly and follow each other, so they can move away from the danger together. Now Taylor has got a little microscope out. I wonder what she's got under there. Let's go and have a look.
Well, nothing just yet, but as you can see, Jerry the giraffe has gone face down onto the floor at the moment. I also have a feather duster, which we'll talk about in a moment too. But come and have a closer look. Look at this. We have not seen Jerry the giraffe for quite some time. And if you look very, very carefully, you'll see, look how big the waxy tunnel's got. It's very, very sort of long now. It must be about 5 or 6 centimeters in length. Isn't that great? And there's actually a little bee there too. Now I'm going to get the microscope. Come over here. And I'm going to try and get this all to work. I just need to, of course, find it. And it's a bit difficult to hold it still too. It's not going to be the easiest. I'm not a professional like James when it comes to handling the microscope. Let's see. Little bees, where are you? They're coming out. We're going to go across the microscope. You can have a look at it now. So that's the waxy sort of chamber. There comes a visitor. Or hornets and things, and even wasps, to try and protect their hives. They will sting any intruders. And that's not the case here. They'll actually swarm, because you'll get thousands of these little creatures living in hives and natural cavities. They typically they'll use skulls, as they clearly have done here with Jerry the giraffe, and then they'll do the same thing with logs and any little sort of cavities like that, and they'll swarm any intruders and bite them. Now they have got a substance that can cause blistering, and normally when they bite us it's actually quite itchy, but they're tiny. They're really minute little things, and it doesn't look like it when you're looking at them through the microscope. Isn't this an amazing thing? Now I apologize, it's a little bit shaky. This is me trying to keep it all still. Remember, hashtag Safari Live with any of your questions. Oh, here comes another one. Paula, you've said if only all bees were stingless. Well, wouldn't that be an absolute dream? Though I think then, unfortunately, our bee population would decline even more rapidly than what it's doing at the moment. It's very sad. Now, unfortunately with these little bees, you get them all over the world, by the way, too. In Asia, Australia, here in Africa, and they don't produce a lot of honey. They don't produce honey like our African bees do, or the rest of the bees throughout the world. Some of them produce enough that you can, of course, utilize it, but otherwise, small little honey pots, just enough for them. Now, I'm just trying to see why you keep going out of focus. Right, I'm hoping that they're going to come back out again. It'll be nice. But the tunnel is basically made of plant resin, if we're wondering what that is. Let me put it up again. Come on! Oh, Jerry! It's actually quite heavy. It's not a light skull, this. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else living in here. There used to be spiders. I think there was a violin spider on the floor, and opted not to rest it on my lap because that wouldn't be very nice to sort of be bitten by. Now the other thing that I had on here is a feather duster, if you hadn't guessed. Isn't it cool? Now this feather duster looks like it has unfortunately lost most of its feathers. It's not a particularly big one, but it's made from ostrich feathers. Now, ostriches are farmed here in South Africa. There are lots and lots of farms all over the country, and we use an ostrich for many different things. Firstly, food. It's a very, very healthy, lean meat. And then, of course, the next thing, of course, is its feathers. And it works wonderfully. And I think that Jerry the giraffe needs to have a little dust, which I think is great. And I'm sure the little bees will appreciate it as well, that we keep the outside of their home nice and clean. They've been in the tent this entire time. Can you believe it? Now, because the weather's been slightly colder, they probably wouldn't have been too can't concentrate today, it's very difficult. So the bees, of course, would have just been a little bit sort of taking it easy, relaxing on the cooler weathers. On a hot day like today, they'll be very active, they'll be out, they'll be collecting pollen, especially from the knobthorn flowers, and that's something that I'm hoping to find at one point too, are some knobthorn flowers, but it's proving to be very, very difficult. I don't really want to climb a knobthorn tree because, well, you can imagine, with all those thorns on it, I would probably come out looking like that zebra that narrowly escaped the claws of the lion. I don't want to look like that. It will be very painful. And also, knobthorns are really, really tall trees too. Most of them stand well over 10 meters in this area. But we'll see what else we can find to pop under the microscope. I'm sure you're excited to use that nifty toy again. But while we go and search for things to put under the scope, let's go back across to Byron, and he's found a zebra.
We have indeed. We found two zebra. Now they're just off in the thicket there. I'll see if I can get a better view. Well, they're moving around. Let's actually just sit tight here for a second. No, wait. I'll try to get Craig into a better position here for you. Through there, Craig, maybe. Is that a bit better? They keep moving. I wonder why that one's nodding like that. That's interesting behavior. Sometimes they do get agitated by flies and that, but I wonder that was, these two seem to be a little playful. See, that one's doing it too. Bobby, you say you wonder if the zebra would react if they got stung by a bee. I wonder. I'm sure they would. But I don't think these bees sting animals. I mean, I don't think so. Other than obviously if the animals are raiding the nest, like honey badgers and that, then those bees would indeed sting them. But a lot of those animals have built up a bit of a resistance to bee stings. Yeah, the zebra is still just moving through there. Always nice to see zebra. I was just thinking that yesterday, though, we haven't seen giraffe. I'm not sure where the giraffe are hiding, but for some reason we've just not seen giraffe. Well, I haven't, at least. The zebra just disappeared there through the thicket. Nice to see them. I'll probably carry on looking for food. There's a beautiful little bird that just landed. I wonder if we can get it. I just want to see if it gets into a better position for you. Craig, just on this little branch, in the center of this tree, actually, just to the left of that dead branch. Yeah, just to the left, there's a little blue waxbill. There it goes. Typical. It's a beautiful little blue waxbill. Let me just show you what that looks like. Tiny little bird, small little bird, about this big. And the waxbills, a few different waxbills, but the one that we see here, probably more than any of the others, is the blue waxbill. Let me show you what it looks like. There we go. Have a look. Have a look at that. It's a really lovely little bird. See that? Blue waxbill. Tiny bird, but there are a lot of them around. They just, they're very quick little birds, and they fly constantly from bush to bush. So you don't always get a good view of them, or it's difficult for us to get a good view of them on camera. But there are plenty of them around. I saw a few golden-breasted buntings flying around here too. Always nice to see them. Ah, there's some more zebra to the back there. Hold on. Oh, Craig, I don't know if we'll be able to get them. Maybe just through there. Can you see through the back there? Oh, they are. Just enjoying the shade. Are they standing head to tail? It looks like a... Jennifer, yes, as I said, the flies often bother them, and you were saying that sometimes the bobbing of the head is because of the botfly larvae that go into the nostrils and nasal cavities with zebra as well as wildebeest. It's quite well known to happen within wildebeest. I don't know if that head bob was because of the botflies, possibly. I suppose that heading, nodding of the head, it just looked like it was more of a... more because they were kind of not chasing one another, but the one did seem to be pushing the one a little bit more. So I don't know if that was it. But you're right, Jennifer. Yes, they do get bot flies, and they do nod them because it causes the irritation to try and get rid of those bot flies. As I was saying, the zebra looked like they were standing head to tail, and the reason for that is they flick their tail to keep the flies out of their faces. So often these zebra will stand head to tail like that. Very interesting behavior, but they do it quite regularly. Let's head back to Taylor, who's got a lot of skulls she'd like to show you.
Oh, hello. I wasn't actually going to show you any skulls just yet. I was doing a bit of dusting again with my trusty ostrich feather over here. Everything is, like I said, it's been pretty locked up. Now, I was reading some questions that were coming through, and one from Fern, which made me leap out of my... And I turned this chair upside down, and there's a couple of cobwebs, but I don't actually... critter that is now living in the tent, and it is now living on the collection of antelope skulls. So at the bottom over here we've got the kudu, then we've got a waterbuck skull, then we've got impala skull over here too. This one is just, well, missing bits and pieces of it, missing the keratin coating, but then you can see that there's a spider that's moved in, and the sun is actually just catching it. You can see it just sort of glittering in the sun. Isn't that beautiful? Now this is a web made by a daddy longlegs. And the reason why I know that it's a daddy longlegs, it might be difficult to see, but if you go through that gap, let me pull your cable for you. There we go. If you look very carefully, just there, the wind is blowing it quite a bit. I don't want to destroy the web, but there's actually an exoskeleton of a daddy longlegs down in there. I don't know where the longlegs down in there. I don't know where the have been eaten. Shall we have a look at them under the microscope? I think so. And I'm glad that the stink bugs have been consumed by the, put my feather duster down, by the daddy longlegs. So firstly, what happens with a spider, let me see if I can do this, is they don't eat their entire prey. Most spiders have venom. Not all venom can harm us as human. Thank goodness. And let me lower this quickly. Bring that down. Let me see if I can just work this out. So what they do is they bite their prey, they inject the venom into their prey. I'll get to the microscope now. There we go. Look at that. And you can see this used to be green, this little insect, just because we had a sort of an explosion of green little stink bugs all around us. So that's how I know what color it used to be. So once that venom is injected, not only does it kill the victim, but it also helps digest the... Oh, I think I need to remove some. To do that in a minute. Anyways, so it liquefies the insides basically, and out. So this is empty. If I were to take this now, I could crush it. Actually, I'm going to do that. Can we come back to me? Right. Now listen. Not worried about this. This insect is dead. It died because a spider ate it. So nothing to do with us, but listen to the crunching sound. It was very subtle. I don't know if you heard it, but I basically just completely crushed the exoskeleton. How cool is that? Now, there is lots and lots of them down on the ground, so that must be one really full daddy longlegs, and I shall try and find it. We will be looking. I'll be checking all the crevices. There's lots of spider webs. Found it. Look at that. Okay, cue light. Let's see if this works. If my light comes on. How's that? Does that help?
Is it on?
Yeah. It's not very bright. Okay, no, this is not working. Okay. Sorry about that. But there is a spider there. In fact, there is a beautiful spider. It is very lovely. It's quite big. Not quite the size of my hand. Nowhere near the size of my hand, in fact. But daddy logs have got a very small body and then these very, very long legs. And they often create webs everywhere. But they're good to have around the house because they catch all the little insects in your house, like getting rid of the stink bugs, which is great because nobody likes a stink bug, especially when they end up on your dinner plate unsuspectingly and you crunch through one. It's not particularly pleasant. So thank you very much, Daddy Longlegs. We're going to see what else we can find in here. Maybe there's some more meals on the ground that the spider once ate that we can have a look at under the microscope. There's not that many insects out here, unfortunately, this time of the year. It is winter, but luckily the tent has been closed up, so a couple of them have actually come in here to try and keep away from the cold weather. So maybe if I look hard enough, I shall find some more. But while we do that, we're going to go back across to Byron, and I know his plan was to check all the watering holes. I wonder which dam he's going to go to next.
Well, Taylor, we are now going to stick to our plan of checking all the water holes. So we're heading towards Twin Dams. Have a look around there and see if there's anything exciting. Now, I got an update from Rexon, who's out on drive this morning, and he was saying that there was apparently there were some lions found this morning, but on Buffelshoek, Hook, and I think a leopard on Buffelshoek Hook too. So unfortunately, not quite on our side, but you never know. Maybe they head down here a little bit later when it cools down and start moving around. Or we could always bump into another leopard that's maybe moving around the area. Oh, sorry. Oh, no. One of my favorite little viewers, and I've missed you. Hello, Tula Ann. Haven't heard from you for a long time. I heard from you for a long time, so nice to have you sending your questions into us again. You asked, are there giraffe around? Tula Ann, I was saying, I haven't seen giraffe for a very long time. I don't know where they are all hiding. We'll try our best to try and find some, but I haven't seen giraffe for a long time, Tula-Ann, so I'm not sure. But hope you are well, Tula-Ann. One of my favorite little viewers. Tula-Ann's 5 years old, and she often watches with her brother. They enjoy watching Safari Live. Oh. So I just saw an interesting little bird. Where did it go? What was that? It looked like a little bird of prey. I don't know if I can still see it. I'm just trying to have a look. I didn't see where it went. It looked almost like it was a shikra, a little bird of prey called a shikra. But I didn't see properly. I've got no idea. I don't know. But it did look like a little bird of prey. There's a lovely little crested barbet right here, right next to us. Look at that beautiful crested barbet, just jumping around. Now, Mohammed, you were saying that some of the birds have bright blue coloration. How does that help them camouflage? Well, Mohammed, also, if you have a look at this beautiful crested barbet, black and white and yellow, bright colors. So the birds actually don't necessarily need camouflage. Oh, there, you can see those colors. Look at that. There's red in there too. Still jumping around. There he is. So, Mohammed, the birds, with birds, it's slightly different. They don't necessarily need the camouflage, unless they are ground nesting birds. Then the ground nesting birds, for example, some of the franklins and that, they or the korans especially, very well camouflaged, and that's because they live and nest on the ground. Whereas a lot of the other birds, and especially those ones with bright blue colors and that, the color is basically to attract a mate mainly. So the males are generally more colorful than females in the bird species, but they don't necessarily need camouflage for protection because they can obviously fly around and that. But the main reason for the color is, of course, is to attract a mate. So the more colorful, the more attractive, and the more beautiful you look, and the more chance of attracting a female. Some lovely birds there. That's crested barbets feeding on some seeds there. There's also a beautiful grey go-away bird right in front of us, just on the dead tree stump. There we go. Look at that in the light. Paddy, you asked what these seed pods were that the barbet was eating. Let me have a look, Paddy. What tree is this now that it was feeding on? Oh. Now there are a few birds here. Oh, I think it's the monkey pod senna. Taylor had a look too. Yeah, it looks like, can't really see the because usually they get these beautiful yellow flowers. So I think that's what it is. The senna. I think it's Senna petitiana, if I'm not mistaken. The scientific name, Senna petitiana, monkey pod senna. Oh yeah, I can see the pods there now clearly. Those little James is sticking to the grey theme. You wanted to see the grey go-away bird. Well, look at them. They're all enjoying these pods. Yeah, they're very close to us. Nice to see them. Look at that. That's great. So yes, the grey theme sticking with us. Beautiful view of these grey go-away birds. They seem very relaxed. I was trying to get to those pods, but I can't reach. Heidi, yes, a lot of these grey go-away birds do eat seeds. They also like fruit. So fruit from some of the trees when they are fruiting, they'll feed on that. But yeah, a lot of seed pods and seeds that they feed on. Amazing how they just run around these trees. Strange birds, grey go-away birds. This bottom one tried to reach a pod and actually fell out of the tree and couldn't reach. Must be quite frustrating, actually. Yeah, and Mohammed, he was saying, look at the tail feathers. They've got long tail feathers, the go-away birds, the grey go-away birds. Alright, let's see. I'm going to get around to Twin Dams and see if there's anything near the water. But let's head back to Taylor, who's got some spiders, or a spider, in the tent with her.
Now, earlier it was a little bit too dark to have a look at the daddy longlegs that we were talking about, but we managed to find another one that's in actually a better position, but it's quite high up now. Unfortunately, in a sense, she's not the tallest person in the world. She's not a giraffe, like Chandra, for example, or Craig, because they're quite tall. So we won't stay up here for too long, but how beautiful is that? Now, I've actually counted about 6 or 7 different daddy longleg spiders living in and amongst the tent. Now, they are popular sort of spiders to have around your home. I think they're also called cellar spiders, or daddy longlegs are, of course, one of the most common names out here, though I think they're also called harvestmen daddy longlegs. They're funny looking spiders too. Oh, now I believe young Tesla, who is one of my favorite young viewers, as well as Tula Ann and all the young children who watch the show, and you said that daddy longlegs are one of your favorite spiders. They're beautiful, aren't they? Now, there's this massive myth about daddy longlegs being one of the most venomous spiders in the world, and they're not venomous to us as humans. And they say that the reason why I remember reading as a kid growing up, always being petrified of a daddy longlegs, and my dad used to say, not knowing any better, their jaws are not strong enough, they can't pierce the skin of a human. Now, this is of course untrue. I think they actually did something on Mythbusters a couple of years ago, if I remember correctly. I remember sitting at home when I was quite young watching, and I think they tried to put the theory about venom, and I'm trying to think. I don't know if it was a redback spider that they compared it to, or maybe it was a recluse spider or something like that. I'm actually not sure which spider they compared the venom to, but definitely not the most venomous spider in the world. But that's not all that's out here. Look what else has been using this tent. Have a look just over here in Essentia. Look at that little thing there. See this thing? It's tiny. It is so small you can see compared to the size of my thumb. That is in fact the leftovers, basically, moth or a butterfly. Probably a butterfly, maybe one of the acrias, because we're seeing so many of them around here. Or maybe it was, yes, it could have been, because there were all those Weltheria plants that grow around the tent, and we watched the caterpillars grow up. So I suspect it was one of the acrias. I think James came to the conclusion that it was one of them. So there's lots of these little exoskeletons or chrysalises just left around the tent too. I'm trying to see what else we can find in here. More daddy longlegs for days in this tent. They are absolutely everywhere. And well, even if you just have a quick look outside, you can actually see how dry it's become. Do you remember when it was all lush and green? You couldn't see any sand on the ground. It's all wearing away quite a bit. Now, I'm really going to go and try and find a knobthorn flower, so I'm going to have to go back towards camp, because there's one flowering, and I'm going to see if I can maybe try and throw something in the tree to get a flower out of it. Like I said, no climbing of the knobthorn trees. I'm not a leopard, and my hand's a little bit too sensitive, and I'll get scratched up. But I'm going to send you back across to Byron. I'm not sure which dam he's got to, but he has got to a watering hole. Hopefully there'll be birds and lots of animals to watch.
Now, sticking with the grey theme, there's some thorns that we can see from a buffalo thorn and a terrapin, the grey back of the terrapin, out of the water there. Now we're just down at Twin Dams at the moment, but there are a few terrapins in the water, and I don't know if we can see them, but every now and then we see one floating at the surface. There's one. There we go. Look at that. You can actually see his legs. Oh, the fly landed on his nose, it looked like. There we go. There's another one. We get two species of terrapins, the marsh terrapin and the serrated back terrapin. Now, I think this is a serrated back terrapin. They've got like a slightly serrated carapace, the back of the shell rather. The carapace looks like it's serrated. It's got little to it, and that one usually gets bigger than the others. Just listening to the radio because I just want to hear from the other guides if they've seen anything yet. Oh, wonderful bird. Just down there, Craig, sorry. Do you see that white spot? There we go. It's a Burchell's cuckoo. Oh, that's nice. Wonderful Burchell's cuckoo. Sometimes referred to as the rainbird. It's hiding in the long grass there. They call the rainbird because the theory and the myth is that when you hear them calling, it's probably going to rain soon. So I'd actually love some rain now. I do enjoy the rain, but the Burchell's cuckoo is quiet. So, Snazzy, you asked how do you tell the sex of a bird? Well, Snazzy, some bird species, most bird species, the male of the species is generally more colourful than the female. Also, males tend, if you think of birds like, I'm trying to think, some of the flycatchers, widow birds, some of them have got long, beautiful tails to attract a female. So, but colour is generally a good one. The males are more colourful than the females. That's basically it. With some of the birds of prey, though, the large eagles, the females are larger than the males. So you can maybe go on size if they're two sitting in a tree. Generally, the females are bigger than the males. But Snazzy, the best and easiest way, if the birds aren't the same colour, but generally the females are a little bit duller than the males. Males are more colourful. It's not always easy. Craig has spotted something, I think. What did you see then? Where about? There we go, there's a little crested francolin on the ground. Is that what it was, Craig?
Yeah.
Some other people out on safari this afternoon, they just drove past. Always nice to see guests out enjoying the afternoon. It's actually actually lovely just to sit around and scan here for a while, and also while I'm sitting and listening out for potential alarm calls or if an animal or predator calls. Now, generally this time of the afternoon in the heat, the predators are less active. They're probably lying down, resting, waiting for it to cool down, and then they'll move around again. But it's not to say that young leopards, for example, won't move around. There's a good chance that they still do that. So it's good to sit and listen. Maybe you hear something before you see it. Especially at these water holes, you never know. Anything could come down and drink at any time. Did you see? Oh, look there, water monitor. Look at that. Just sticking its head out of the hole. It's a beautiful water monitor, you see. So there are things that just appear every now and then. Now the monitor lizards, we have two species of monitor lizards, and they get quite large. They are the largest lizards in Africa. And the monitor lizards, the two species, the water monitor, which is this little one we can see here. This isn't a really big one. They get much bigger than that. And then the other one is the rock monitor. Now, obviously the water monitor hangs around water holes, dams, rivers. And the rock monitor you can generally find in the bush. They prefer rocky areas, or also they'll make a home in tree stumps, hollowed out trees. And the rock monitor is generally a bit thicker. Its neck and head is a bit wider and a bit thicker than the water monitor. The water monitor's got a more slender head. Just enjoying a little bit of the sun. Sticking its head out there, enjoying some of the sun. But they can get very big. The water monitor, I think, gets a little bit longer than the rock monitor. Paula, you asked what sort of diet does a monitor lizard have? Well, Paula, they will feed on a variety of things. Now, monitor lizards would raid the sorry, I'm just listening to the radar. Multitasking. Paula, so a variety of things, but predominantly bird eggs. So if they can come across bird eggs, they'll feed on some other reptiles, sometimes snakes, birds, as I said. That's generally what the monitor lizards will feed on. Especially these water monitors, they do try and raid nests close to the water. Some of these birds that nest around here. Look, is it coming out there? Now I'm trying to think. You asked how large they get, how big do they grow. I think of a big monitor lizard from head to tail can get almost 2 meters long, a water monitor. We saw one massive one that we used to see around Djuma Dam. Well, not Djuma Dam, Vuyatela Dam. There we go. That's a great view of it. See, just being patient, and eventually they come out. But it was massive. It was really, really big. I'm trying to think. I mean, it was easily over a meter and a half. So I think that one was almost 2 meters long from head to tail. Our beard, I'm not sure. You asked what does the word monitor mean, or why has it been given the name monitor lizard? And I don't know, our beard. You have stumped me. I'm not sure. Maybe Taylor's read something, or maybe she's got a book around there, or she can find something on the internet for us to describe why it's called a monitor lizard. B. Wilson, you say this water monitor blends in very, very well, and it does very well. Camouflage blends in with that mud and that on the edge of the water hole. Nice to see the monitor lizard. Shall we continue to our third dam for the afternoon? John, you asked how is their skin replaced. Now, the monitor lizards don't shed their skin, not like a snake, as far as I know. I've never seen a monitor lizard shed skin. No, I don't think they do. But so I would assume that the skin stretches and grows as the monitor lizard grows. Not like a snake that sheds its skin when it does grow. Those monitor lizards don't do that. Now there's some monkey tracks around here. Now Taylor's still got her microscope out and she's having a look at a few interesting things, and she's got one of my favorite flowers under there at the moment. This time of year there's some yellow flowers, but let's go have a look. She'll tell you more about it.
Right, well, like I said, I had to go back to camp. I bumbled back. I picked up a stick along the way, and then I thought to myself, I stood under the biggest knobthorn tree you've ever seen that shades our car park, where we park our private cars, not where we park Wendy, Rusty and Jigger. And then I stood under there and thought, if I throw this stick, it's going to land on my car's windscreen. Insurance wouldn't like that. B, it's going to hit Craig's motorbike and then it's going to fall over to the ground. Or it was going to go through Byron's car and the rest of the vehicles. I thought to myself, this is going to be a disaster. But anyways, I managed to do it with 3 attempts of throwing the stick up into the tree to get some pods and a flower to fall down, and without breaking any cars too. So here we go. How great is this? A little collection. And like Byron says, it's one of his favorite flowers. Don't you think? It's a beautiful looking flower, and it just smells. Oh, it's unbelievable. I don't even know how to describe the scent to you. It's not quite the smell of jasmine, but it definitely has a slight hint of jasmine. It's very sweet. Not roses. There's another smell in here. I don't know how to describe it, but it is very, very nice. And, well, you know, you're just going to have to come and visit us here in South Africa or in other parts of Africa, because you get knobthorn trees all over. But it's not just that. But then we've got the pods too. Look at all these pods. Now, I'll talk about the pods very quickly. So these pods start developing, and normally they're a reddish color, and they're quite pliable once they first start. And then what happens is they start to dry, and eventually they drop off. And when they hit the ground, they're still solid, and eventually they sort of twist and break, and they open up, like you can see. This one is starting to over here. You see little gaps, and I can pull it. Oh, I've just broken that one. I can pull it apart quite easily. It looks like there's... Oh, we might be able to put this under the microscope. We're going to investigate with that one. I'm going to save that one. And here are the little beans. See that tiny little thing there? That's the only one that's left in this one. Isn't that quite cool? And then they will hopefully germinate in the ground. Now, should we have a look at the microscope so we can have a closer look at the flower? I think so. I think that would be a great idea. It is very pretty. Look at that. Isn't that just unbelievable? Now, I know it's been quite some time since we've been able to have a look at the knobthorn flowers. They're beautiful. The stem is bright red with, of course, the white little flowers and the yellow tips to them. A very, very pretty flower out in the bush, and as I was describing, one of the most beautiful scents that we have out here. You smell it all over, especially when you drive underneath the trees. Now, there's many different animals out in the world, and specifically here in South Africa, that pollinate this beautiful tree. And I'm sure you can guess. Now, of course, we've got the typical pollinators, such as bees and wasps and flies and butterflies. So there are not too many butterflies out at the moment because it's quite chilly. However, another one that might seem strange to you is a giraffe. Now, giraffes' diet consists of about 40% of knobthorns in this particular area. They do like to eat acacias, It's one of their favorite foods, so the name has changed now to Senegalis, if I'm not mistaken. However, I will still call it an acacia, because acacia describes the thorns that they have, and Senegalis does not. But it's very, very pretty. So giraffe are also responsible for pollinating these flowers, seeing as though they're eating them so much, they're constantly sort of diving in face first, and all that pollen gets stuck to their well, all the hairs on their body, and then when they go to the next acacia, they're pollinating it that way. Don't you think that's amazing? Now, I'm going to change things quickly. I'm also... Can we come back to me very quickly, because I want to try and take this overlay off. I don't know how, but I need to press buttons. I'm going to press lots of buttons. How do I get this to it? Woo! No, that's not it. I got very excited. No, I don't want this thing on anymore. How do I do that? I'm now taking pictures. Ha! I think that's how I did it. Oh well, I don't know. Something's not 100% right. But let's have a look. Now remember, I said to you a moment ago, I'm going to keep looking. I said that I'd found something in this pod. Let me have a look. Ooh, okay. Can we have a look at the microscope again, please? There we go, that's better. Now I've got rid of that silly overlay. I apologize, everybody, for all that before. If you didn't get any good screenshots, just let me know. Hashtag Safari Live, and I can put the flower back under. Alright, let's bring you to the middle. Let's try and make you as sharp as possible. Oh, it's so difficult to use. It's got to be gentle. I don't know what it is. It's a larvae of something. There's something moving around in the top right-hand corner. There's like lice or something. Maybe a wood louse moving around here too. Let me see if I can get them into focus. You might be able to see what I'm talking about. Just on the right of the bean itself. Look at them. You can see all these little things moving around. Isn't that great? Never did I think I was going to open up a knobthorn pod and find so much life living inside something so small. Or maybe it's little spiders. Should we drop it down a notch now? So it's going to go a little bit out of focus, but I promise you I shall correct it. I'm dropping it down as low as I can so that we can try and get a closer look as to what exactly these little things are that are moving around. Now look. But there was also something bigger living there. So that, like I said, it's a larvae of some sort. You can clearly see some silk. I don't think that's a spider web. Now, please bear with me, everyone. I have not used the microscope for quite some time. I'm trying to shuffle it. No, I gotta go. It's so awkward like that. Where are these little things gone now? Maybe if I give it a tap, it'll encourage them to come out. Just a very gentle tap, of course. No, our little spider things are gone. Now, whatever wasn't... Oh, there we go. There's one. Is it a spider? Is it a louse? Is it a spider? Is it a louse? I think it doesn't... Yeah. You see that, See, I don't know if it's a spider. It's so difficult to see. But it is top right-hand corner going towards the hashtag Safari Live. Isn't that sneaky? There's another one. Yeah, they're not, definitely not spiders. I say this. They look like a louse. They're definitely a louse of some sort. Now, I don't know if there's anything specific to knobthorn pods. I'll actually have to jump on the interweb and do a bit of research and see if I can find anything about it. Maybe this little sort of creature that's moving around here, well, there's quite a few of them, maybe they rely on knobthorns, maybe they're specific, because we see lots of little creatures out here that are indeed host specific. How great was that, though? That's really nice, all the life under here. I'd love to know exactly what the other little thing that was in here. I'm going to open that a little bit more, but I can't tell from just that. And I think it was actually feeding on the little bean inside. But it's amazing. Now, one of my favorite pods, and I wish I had some pods from the anna tree. There are one or two anna trees growing out here, but they're quite difficult to find. Typically, you find them down on the riverline. But they have the most beautiful pods, similar to this, slightly sort of short, not quite as long as the knobthorn pod, and they're also a little bit more on the robust side. But the colours that they go are incredible. The colours of a knobthorn pod are pretty sort of playing, nothing too incredible. However, of the anna tree, the Fade Herbia albidea, they go sort of red, they go yellow, almost sometimes orange. They go the most amazing colours. It's really cool. But like I said, if unfortunately you didn't get a good shot of this because of my, well, stupidity. I've now figured out how to take the overlay off so we can put that back under maybe a little bit later. And I have a question for you before you go back across to Byron, and I want you to think about this, and I'd love to hear from you. What flowers are you most excited about seeing in this coming spring? You can hashtag Safari Live. Obviously flowers that we find out here in South Africa, ones that you have seen on Safari Live. But anyways, Byron's still out driving about, and hopefully he's going to find many more wonderful creatures for you, so let's go back across to him.
Well, we have indeed. Now we're at our third dam, Chitwa Dam, and there are guests at the lodge at the moment, so I'm not going in front of the lodge, but watch this hippo. They are displaying, and it looks like they're having a bit of a territorial dispute there. See that flicking of the tail that one is doing on the left? Now that is a sign of aggression and trying to establish dominance of the other one. They've been yawning and there's been a lot of activity there. Keep an eye on them. Oh, fish eagle. Oh, right. It just flew down, but we thought maybe it might catch something. But there's a lot of... there it goes. Well done, Craig. Look at that beautiful fish eagle. Maybe. Watch it. Come on. Catch a fish for us. Wouldn't that be great? Oh. Yes, that would have been a highlight for me to see a fish eagle catch a fish. I've only seen it 2 or 3 times. You've got to be very patient, I think. Sit and watch fish eagles, and hopefully they decide to hunt and swoop down and catch a fish out the water. There's a lot of waterbuck and that have come down to drink. They're just walking past there at the moment, in that direction of those fighting hippo. I actually think oh, there we go. They're still just off to the left. Sorry, Craig. Every now and then, hey, watch! Wow! Yes, look at that. See those sharp teeth? Unfortunately, I can't get any closer. And like I said, there are people out on the deck at the moment of the campsite. I don't want to disturb them by parking directly across from the lodge, but luckily for us, we've got a great view from here. Chatty Meg, you asked if hippos are related to whales. No, they're not, other than being mammals, of course, but no, not related to whales. Hope you're having a great day, Chatty Meg. Morning or day. What? Oh, look at that hippo. See, it's backing out of the water there a little bit. Let's see, we might get some more. Laura Moore, you say so graceful. Now I'm assuming you're referring to the fish eagle that flew across for us. I think that's what you mean is graceful, and they are indeed graceful birds. Now, Taylor was chatting about flowers and interesting flowers and beautiful flowers that she likes, and what flowers we're excited to see. I'm excited to see the impala lily. Now, impala lilies will start flowering soon, I think, and they are beautiful, bright pink flowers, pink and white flowers. And when everything else is very basically grey and dull and loses its colour now in the winter months, the dry months, these impala lilies flourish and they flower. They're beautiful flowers. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of them. I'll keep an eye out and see when we do find some for you. Now, Lisa, you asked why we don't see the waterbuck in the water. So, Lisa, they don't necessarily go into the water very often. They will run through the water or into the water if they feel threatened. Now, I've actually never seen it. I've never seen the waterbuck run and dive or run through the water to get away from a predator. But apparently they do that. If they are feeling threatened, they'll run into the water to try get away from, say, lions, for example. But otherwise, they won't go into the water. There's no reason for them to go into the water unless they're being chased. As I said the other day, the waterbuck are just quite reliant on water. They do need to drink fairly regularly. And that's why we often see them close to water holes or around water. So nice sitting here at the dam. So there's a lot going on. And this clearing, the scenery is very, very beautiful. Something startled some francolins behind us. I could just hear them. I don't know where they are now. Sherlock, you're a new viewer. Welcome, Sherlock. Have a look there. Those hippos still going at it. Oh, that's great. You asked, what is the biggest hippo I've ever seen? Wow, look at that. Oh my word, they really are testing one another. It doesn't look like it's a... I must be honest, the hippo can get very, very aggressive. There's definitely a standoff going on here. And you can see, again, the flicking of the tail in the water. Those are all signs of aggression, signs of dominance, trying to challenge one another. Look at that. Those massive mouths, big teeth. Not like to bump into a hippo. Now, Sherlock, getting back to your question, you asked what is the biggest hippo I've ever seen. I've seen plenty of hippos. Some of the largest hippos I've seen have been up in Zambia, actually, Sherlock, in the Zambezi River. Plenty of plenty of hippodiles. I mean, plenty of hippo and plenty of crocodiles. The Zambezi. I made it shorter. So there are lots of hippodiles up in Zambia. Zambezi. Oh dear. Anyway, look at this. This is really amazing. Watching these two fight like this. You don't see it that often. Often they fight at night, but look at that. Look, trying to turn its mouth to the side, that one hippo, really trying to get its teeth to hurt the other one. John, wow, look at them splashing around. This is really great. They're getting very aggressive with one another. And John, you asked if they ever act like this on land. In certain areas around Africa, if the waters start drying up, the rivers or the dams, and hippos are forced to congregate in small areas, then they do get aggressive, and they will fight on land too. Yes, they will. When there's a lack of water, then obviously the dominant males challenge one another. Now, Joshua, the hippos feed on grass. Now, they are herbivores, so they'll leave the water usually at night, and they'll go off and they'll feed on grass in the clearings around this area, or any area where they can get some good grass. Sometimes they can cover huge distances when they are looking for food, and the reason for that is just to obviously get to areas where there is food, but up to 5 or 10 kilometers in an evening, easily, when they are looking for food in the drier months. But those two hippo, they're really having a go at each other. Karen from Virginia, you asked how well do the hippos hear. Well, I think they hear pretty well. My understanding is that I think their sense of hearing is quite good. So is their sense of smell. But I mean, I can't be 100% certain, because I don't know. How do we know? How do we judge that? But you see, again, just look at this behavior. Very interesting behavior. That tail flicking is a clear sign of aggression. You see that yawning. Now, we've spoken about this before. The hippos, they yawn, they open their mouths, they bare those teeth, they want to intimidate one another. If we get close to water too, they also do that, and it's to basically warn us and tell us not to get closer. That's what that hippo is doing. It's trying to intimidate the other one that is fighting with it, showing those teeth, opening the mouth really, really wide. But that's really amazing to see. Very aggressive. Now, the hippo can make insane sounds, and often you hear it at night, how these hippo, if they are fighting, it's the growls and the grumbles and the sounds that come from hippo. I've often got to the deck in the mornings to meet guests for our morning safari, and they've said to me, listen, it sounds like something was being murdered outside the camp, and most of the time it's the hippos fighting in the river. It's strange sounds, and this growling and grumbling, as I said, in this I don't know how to explain it really, but this, could you say shouting of a hippo perhaps? But I mean, if you hear those hippo sounds and that, but when they're fighting, it's phenomenal, the sounds that they make, and often people get very worried when they hear that. But it is the hippo, especially if your camp is close to water, close to rivers, and the hippos do fight a lot. But this is a really interesting sighting. Well, very fortunate now. I'm just waiting to see. Oh, still guests out on the deck there. Once they head out, I'll try to get a little bit closer. Watch, there they go again. Opening their mouths. Look at that. Very aggressive. Wow. That is amazing. That one's almost on its